Good afternoon. Good afternoon to half of the planet that hasn't experienced noon yet, that includes U.S. Eastern Standard Time. But for those of you who are still having some late Sunday brunch breakfast, good morning to you, and to those of you on the Pacific Eastern half of the planet, good evening. I'm going to stop doing that because it's very hard to keep track of who's in what time zone and who's watching at what time. But we're finally here talking about May movies. Just a week too late. I had this scheduled a couple of times over the course of the last week or so, and my body clock has not been cooperating with me. It's weird. When there's more of the sun out, it's harder for me to adapt to European scheduling or the inverse of that. It's harder for me to keep a American time schedule when the sun is out from, like, I don't know, 5 a.m. to it's coming up on 8-9 p.m. now that the sun is still out too, and that's rough. When I'm used to sleeping when the sun is down, it's hard to plan that when the sun is down for not very long. Not that you guys care, just letting you know why why this took so long. Saw a total of 14 films for the first time in May. There will be instances where I'll talk about a movie that I haven't watched in a while because my memory is like a golden gift. Sometimes if I haven't watched a movie within 2 years, and I'm being very generous to myself, if I haven't watched a movie within 2 years, there's probably key elements that I've forgotten. And if it's anything more than that, we'll just call it a fresh renewal. Unless, of course, I've logged it on Letterboxd. But that's what we're going by. We're going by my Letterboxd diary. If you want to follow me there and get an inside track on what I'm covering and what my thoughts are as they happen, it is spelled the same way, WILIscredia. So yeah, there was a bunch of good movies. Actually, kind of surprising. For as much as I've been kind of like, new movies kind of suck lately, I can't really say that this year. It's just barely June right now, and I've been kind of pleasantly shocked a couple of times already. And this doesn't happen like this this early. Usually there's like a huge summer hit, and by summer hit I mean like June, July, that kind of wows me. And then, come December, there's one or two where it's like, oh, this is here for award season. But I have not seen Backrooms yet, but apparently that has incredible buzz, and we're going to talk about the other little indie darling. Horror is doing very well right now, and it's not from typical faces and characters that you would think you'd need to hang horror on, and like that's so encouraging to me. Seeing these things that aren't an intellectual property, these aren't things that your horror mascots that we have to lean on something that people are familiar with. Although you could say that for something like Backrooms, it's an adaptation of something that has some sort of fummy from the internet, but it's just refreshing to not have something that oh, they ruined my character. I've seen this character 15 times before, and this new adaptation of it ruined it. It's just interesting to be on the ground floor of some of these movies that are just, oh, that was impressive. I didn't really have any sort of idea of where that was coming from or what to expect moving forward, but that was a nice little contained movie. And because I watched quite a few movies, there were movies that I saw for the first time in May that I don't have such positive feelings for. So, to the chat right before we get to it, Crawling Chaos, what is going on? Hayden, haven't had the chance to see any of these yet. You don't know all. Oh wait, are you following me on Letterboxd? All right, that's fair. That's fair. You don't know what I've got in my back pocket here. But if you're following me on Letterboxd, you know exactly what I have in my back pocket. You know what I have in my back pocket, my front pocket, what's dribbling down my shoes. Sean says, can't stick around, but not seen Iron Lung Obsession, not quite best horror movie. Sean, you've got to incorporate commas for the love of everything holy. Let me try that again. Can't stick around, comma, but not seen Iron Lung, comma, Obsession, period. Not quite best horror movie of the decade for me. Like, parentheses, like most people, but it's a great 4 out of 5 horror movie. Sean, that's impressive that you took you took that much effort to like give like a sideways compliment to a movie that most of that sentence sounds like you're just shitting on it. But I mean, I would love for someone to feel a 4 out of 5 for something while also telling me no big deal. But I get it. I get it. I felt that way going into that movie. And I thought there's no chance that this movie's going to match the hype. And there's something to be said for that. That hype kind of affects your expectations. And for better or worse, that's not really the movie's fault sometimes. You know, sometimes it's just people you trust or I don't know, you buying into the hype, the press, the publicity. And sometimes, you have this expectation that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And that kind of ruins your experience. And again, is that fair to the movie? Just asking questions. My produced content that I put up the last 2 days has been interesting. I had something of a question, not really a declaration of sorts. I talked about the recent surge of YouTubers that are making movies, and we'll be talking about a couple of them in this episode. And it's interesting to see some of the comments. I think people just read either saw the thumbnail and or read the title and just answered that, which is really interesting because to say that I like said one thing or another in that video is, by the way, I think it's like 9 minutes, that video. So shame on taking the time to comment without really hearing what I said. Oh wait, no, 9 minutes is the scary movie review. Yee. I did not see that in May, but I guess if we have time at the end, I can give you fresh thoughts on that masterpiece. But if anything, I was pretty both sidesy about things with my little thesis statement about fandom and YouTube support and how just doing well financially doesn't always mean it's a critical success. And boy, a couple of touchy subjects there. People really don't like, as if to play into one of my points. You're really defensive over something that I'm not, saying one thing or another about the people that made these things. I'm just talking about, the reaction writ large. But speaking of reactions, we will get to my May 1st times, my virginity popping May releases. And we'll start here with Apex. This is I believe this is a Netflix movie. And I took this moment to be a snarky shit. And that costs me dearly when I'm trying to go over these movies at this point. And my review opens with a cliffhanger. I'm going for that comedy review. And that joke is the movie literally opens with this couple hanging off a cliff in like a tent thing. It's a gnarly look. Don't get me wrong. It certainly stimulated some sort of nerves in me where if you have a thing about heights or, not being above ground, it'll trigger some nerves. They're just like stuck in the side of a cliff and just dangling from it. And yeah, a thing happens right away, and this woman decides to conquer her outdoorsiness and runs across someone else that we don't know whether or not to trust this person. And I don't know. I feel like I could run through the script, and there are beats in this movie that definitely feel like something you've seen before. But I also understand that there are times where people, let's say you're 16 years old and you have access to Netflix, and you're bored, you're watching something brand new. There are certainly chances that someone could watch Apex and they don't have any reference points to be like, oh, this reminds me of Sleeping with the Enemy. This reminds me of insert thriller here. Um, and like this is their baseline. So um, I don't know how to inform that person about what to expect moving backwards now, I guess. But me watching this with my hundreds of movies a year watched, it feels a lot like things I've seen before. It has things that kind of smell like something you've seen before. There are things that feel like they rhyme with situations from other movies before. It's not offensive. I gave it 2 stars out of 5. It's just considering it's nothing really fresh. Again, with the exception of that opening cliffhanger scene thing, which it got something out of me. I kind of I was sweaty palms there for a couple of seconds, but other than that, I was just it was very forgettable. And yes, Yeager's got a good point here. Taron Egerton, who plays the sus individual that Charlize Theron comes across. Is it Charlize Theron? My memory's shit. It's Charlize Theron, isn't it? Charlize Theron comes across for the second half of the movie and then some. I don't know what happened to him. He was in that. I don't know. He must have signed some sort of Netflix deal because he was in that Netflix movie that came out 2 Christmases ago. That was kind of okay about like the TSA agent. Again, I kind of feel bad for Taron Egerton because he's in like solid movies, but also kind of forgettable. Like further proof of that is I kind of enjoyed that Christmas movie where he was the TSA agent. I can't tell you the name. That could also be a testament to me and my dog shit memory. Reminder, I watch hundreds of movies a year. But like it was interesting. It was not something that I'd be like, oh, I need to watch that again. And that's a shame because his performances as his performance in Apex, solid, quite believable. Another thing that this reminds me of, and they're just doing a television series now on Apple Plus, Cape Fear. Cape Fear is now a short series. Thank you, Yeager, coming in clutch. Carry On, another fun time from 2024. That is the film. Yes. If you don't want too much expectations, if you just want like a solid Netflix night, because I'm pretty sure it is still on Netflix, Carry On, good time. Not 5 stars, mind you, but certainly not 1 star either. And I guess, if you're paying for a monthly subscription to Netflix, the last thing you would want is some like horrible dreck. And I guess they're doing that, but I don't know. I kind of feel bad for some of these actors that feel like they're stuck in these. I'm going to be good in something that's mid, and the same can be said here for Apex. It was all right. I gave it 2 stars only because it was very samey. Ryan, what's going on, man? The next film I watched, oh boy, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and my review goes as such. It really looks great. It's bright and well animated. It feels something akin to visual candy. And for the kids/TikTok crowd, there's a ton of moments that can be highlighted slash rewinded for the purpose of reliving those parts. The issue with the rest of the movie is it really isn't a movie, but a collection of moments. Things happen. Story does not fall under the category of things in this instance. I can't imagine kids being let down by a lack of story. I too only wanted to rewatch certain parts of my favorite movies when I was a kid, so they should have so they should be absolutely captivated by this. Yeah, looks great. It references a bunch of things that, like, if you've played the decades worth of Mario content, there's plenty in there for you. But I don't know this. This is what concerns me. I give it 1.5 stars out of 5. You know, 10-year-old me would just be just like gutted by this. I don't know. Actually, you know what? 10-year-old me would probably think that this thing was incredible because it does all the things and references all the things that you want to see. But the story isn't really there. You have to remember that, you know, little kid me saw the Super Mario Brothers with John Leguizamo, and that was not things that I recognized from the video games. So I don't know. If your kids enjoy it, does it really matter? Problem is, Mario goes back multiple generations now, decades. There's people probably in their, maybe not 60s, but people in their 50s that grew up with some Mario thing in their life. And maybe 60s. Shit, you might have been playing Donkey Kong, and Mario was the was the guy that didn't really have a name at that point back in the arcades. But I don't think it's offensive. You know, I don't have kids. I'm not around kids often enough to, like, you know, be subjected to shit like this on times where I don't have to do this and talk to you and the channel. So I don't know how this will be received from a non-cinephile crowd, but I'm sure it does what it needs to for that crowd. It, you know, kids, they don't talk about movies in a 90-minute sense. There's a scene that they love and talk about and rewatch 50 times over and over again. And there's certainly enough of that in here that I don't know. Excuse me. Jaeger says Netflix is the example of hit or miss streaming. You could get something like Extraction 2, and then you can get something like Apex, which is fine, but nothing special. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that says about the state of things. But yeah, Super Mario Galaxy, I know I did a double header with this movie, and here is part 2 of that double header. It is the drama with Robert Pattinson and Zendaya. I think it's really interesting that Robert Pattinson is now getting away with being that indescribable 20-something, 30-something guy, because, you know, Twilight, you're going back almost 20 years now, and he was like the it guy back then, and he's had quite a journey through time, but he's now like the love interest type character for 2 different generations already. It feels like it's time to pass the torch there, Robert. But without further ado, 3.5 stars from me for the drama. It's hard to get into this movie without dropping something of a spoiler, but this movie isn't entirely new on its structure, a rather dark comedy, which also happens to have some unique emotion to it. But there's a warning to be had if you have some emotional triggers. Along the lines of movies like The Weatherman and or The Roses, and the emotional ballpark of the movie Bones and All. The drama gets rather deep into heavy subject matter, but most importantly, it goes to lengths to understand a subject enough to find the moments that can be looked at and laughed about. Whether or not you find something in the subject matter laughable is certainly going to vary in mileage based on your sense of humor. I think this movie could have some sort of cathartic nature to it in the same way that something like Blue Valentine did on the other end of romance, but I don't know if this is something that you'd want to head back to and watch on a rainy night. And 5 people like that. Um, yeah. Oh, so I, it really is hard to discuss this without getting into spoilers. There's something that comes up, and don't get me wrong, it's relatively early, but it's one of those things that like it kind of is like a make or break thing for people. They're like playing truth or dare or something like that. And Zendaya's character and Robert Pattinson's character are engaged and they're getting ready to get married. And something comes out in this truth or dare game that kind of shakes people to their core. And sitting with that and dealing with that and having to deal with the mature or adult now who's kind of confessed something that is kind of scandalous. You feel a certain way about the actions of the person from their youth, but is there maturing? Have they learned from that? And how do we deal with that? How do we feel about that? It's an interesting question the movie asks, and even after that moment where things are pretty, pretty thorny, other things continue to happen in the movie where, oh, we're not all, we can have thoughts and feelings about people and something that they've done wrong, but we are far from perfect, and life doesn't work out, the way that we can go around feeling righteous about things. And it's just, I don't know. I don't think if you're going to the drama and expecting When Harry Met Sally, you're gonna have a rough time. There is like heavy subject matter, and what I'll say is Second Amendment stuff. If you're in America, there's Second Amendment stuff that the conversation gets a little heavy, and they kind of go head on with the subject matter, and it depends on what offends you and how you feel about that subject matter, and the very real, very raw situation in America right now, and how mental health is a concern that's attached to a lot of these issues, and it kind of goes for it and covers multiple perspectives on something. And I don't know, like I'm just fucked up. I thought some of it, the fact that they were tackling some of this was quite refreshing and still quite like darkly funny. And I'm not encouraging anything that is discussed in the movie, but I do think there are times that people have certain things. So there's one moment that what I'll say. I'll try to skate through this as cleanly as possible. Someone is recording themselves on a webcam, and they're about to do something pretty maniacal and dangerous, and they're trying to be a badass and all this stuff. And it turns out that the recording wasn't happening. The camera was not recording through all that, and it's like such a release moment where this person's trying to be, this evil badass, and they're doing it for no reason because there was no recording. And then you see them like it's like the two spectrums, the two ends of the spectrum. Someone doing one thing and then just being an absolute fool because they were not actually recording that thing. It's quite a release. It's really hard to discuss this. I would look into the warnings about it, but um, I don't know. It's not the movie you're supposed to watch after Super Mario Galaxy, that's for sure. And do not watch this around children is the easiest suggestion I can make to you. But 3.5 stars for me. It kind of shocked me, and it's something that I don't know. Emily said she would be interested in watching it, so it might go higher for me because, like I said, the Weatherman. Some of the subject matter in that is it's a dark comedy. Some of the things that are being joked about. You're not supposed to say those things, but it's fucking funny if you get past the taboo of things and just realize this is how do you handle this. Um, a movie that succeeds in cringe comedy. I laughed a lot, especially at the wedding sequence. It's not like a Judd Apatow kind of laugh. It's a laugh where you cover your eyes smiling. Yeah, it's like contagious, easy for you to say, contagious cringe where like you sympathize, you recognize the emotions that are there, but you also were like, oh, I'm glad I'm not that person is the best way to put it. And yeah, there's a confession. Well, there's a couple of confessions. There's something that comes out. Um, there's a something that happens between two characters that are not the husband and bride that was interesting. The way that kind of unraveled. It's really interesting. It's like a comedy of errors, but also some serious subject matter. So you've been warned. I'm not giving you the full bore recommendation. I'm definitely not telling you to watch it around kids or to show your kids. Next. Oh, brother. Slanted. My quick review. I gotta get these ads off. What the fuck did I do? Um, my quick thesis, my quick review is a movie that presents an interesting, albeit familiar, premise, but doesn't really dig too deep in the issues or challenges of the ideas it presents. And I gave it 2.5 stars. Yep. Uh, patrons and channel members experienced me um, reacting to a certain theme of messages from some reviewers on YouTube. And for as much as I don't think Slanted is great, I don't think it's offensive. I kind of call bullshit on people that are offended by this movie, but it's it's just another one of those cool kids, nerd who wants to be like the cool kid. Just take that trope and twist it a little bit, and add some caveats. And if anything, there are moments in this movie that like play into the that's a very good question. Fourth Jordan says, is Slanted better than White Chicks? It's been a while since I've seen White Chicks. Slanted, it's interesting. People are comparing it to The Substance, and I feel like if you're going to this movie to like get like that body horror thing, like you're going to be disappointed. I wouldn't recommend this to a horror crowd. I would call it a comedy with horror elements. But it has a couple of things that feel familiar. And the one thing that I kept thinking of was like Get Out. And people are offended by this very, very satirical, it's an exaggeration. The world that this movie is it's an exaggeration of this character's perspective. And if you're a channel member or a patron, I encourage you to watch that for that deep dive into the bizarre, because like half of the perception of this movie was this movie's telling you white people are bad, and I don't, even if you see it that way, the movie itself, then I like spoilers. The movie itself is telling you that even the bad people are not what you think they are, which like did you not pay attention? There's a lot of things that people were bothered by that I don't think the movie is that offensive. Like people are getting offended for reasons that I just don't understand. But it's also it's not great. It's not great, but it's not awful. It's just an interesting thing that some of the cinematography was interesting, some of the ideas were interesting, but the execution left a lot to be desired. It's one of those movies that I feel like people are kind of making a culture war thing out of something, and this movie otherwise doesn't deserve any of that credit. Um, but I wouldn't give you a solid recommend, but I would also put out any flames about it being um, offensive to any one particular race. It's pretty calm, all things considered. Next, oh boy, speaking of calm, all things considered, the 2026 remuquel of Faces of Death, which I expected nothing of. I still technically have not covered the original Faces of Death for who would like that. But on the heels of this, I might have to do like a twofer or something, because I'm shocked at how much this movie, I don't know, felt like something that I don't know I was okay with. Anyway, my Letterboxd review is: this movie does an incredible job of both featuring clips that gorehounds will curiously check this movie out for, and simultaneously distances itself from those clips. It has something to say. If you're grown up, excuse me, if you've grown up with the cult status of the original Faces of Death, you'll recognize this movie's outline of our desensitization and some unique commentary on the community standards of these online video apps. If the line from Scream, "Movies don't make psychos, movies make psychos more creative," were to have a social media / algorithm spin to it, this is it. Once again, 5 people. I have 5 loyal followers on Letterboxd that will like anything I say. And thank you to those 5 of you. Yeah, I am kind of stunned. Like, if you watch these movies, if you like, you're going to Faces of Death, Serbian film, things like that. Like, if you're just going to those things for gore, this movie kind of satiates that need, but at the same time, it actually kind of takes something of a position where it kind of steps aside and points like, look at this. People are okay with this. And then it kind of turns the finger around and points at like social media apps and how they police things. And you know, it says things really well without making anyone feel targeted. It's just kind of like asking questions and bringing up points like, you know, if something violent happens on a social media app, but it's determined to be fake, it will pass through all of these tests. But if something is sexual, like if you're, this is shown in the movie, if you're showing someone how to put a condom on a banana, that will be flagged for sexual activity. And like that's educational. It's weird, the hypocrisy that exists online. And this movie does a hell of a job of kind of highlighting a bunch of different perspectives and kind of makes you think, wow, yeah, there's something to that. And, you know, with the title of Faces of Death, Um, you know, this shit started with the OG one where there's a bunch of those Faces of Death tapes. Like they were legend when I was growing up. It was one of those things that, you know, when you're a kid growing up, or at least when my age, you would hear about these movies that, oh, older kids, oh, I saw this, and you wouldn't be able to handle it. And because you're a kid, being told no, you want to do it 10 times more. And eventually I saw Faces of Death way too soon. And parts of it I was like, that's stupid. That's not that big a deal. And there's parts of it that kind of messed with me. But the thing about Faces of Death and the lore behind it is a lot of it is fake, a lot of it is real. And this movie kind of pretends like all of it is real. Like it's kind of carving a new universe out. It's a world where the Faces of Death movies exist, but it's also a world where the Faces of Death videos have influenced creative psychos. And it kind of goes through that and how the internet, I won't even say movies, how we're affected by things that we see online, and we're so desensitized. And the ones that are choosing what we can and can't see, like, are these apps, and they are hypocrites a lot of times. And I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. I'm really kind of curious to see this again. I will probably have to see it again if/when I end up covering it for Who Would Like That. But this sticks with me a hell of a lot more than the OG version. The OG version is just like, if you believe it, if you take it all to be true, it's like, I don't know, Jackass, America's Funniest Home Videos, but not funny at all. Just a series of clips that are real, even though most of them aren't. And the ones that are real are just like news footage. Yeah, the first movie isn't really a film so much. It's not really a through line. It doesn't have a narrative. It's just, here's a series of things that are kind of messed up to look at. But this has something to say, and I'm kind of shocked. I'm shocked, and I did not expect to have a good time. I don't Good time is not the word I want to use, but I was surprised at how much I watched that movie and was like, okay, all right, you have something to say. I'm listening. Next, ta-da! Um, it is Obsession, the current darling, like doing things that no movie has done in quite a while. Although I don't know the stats for right now, but Obsession was like making more money every week it's been out, and that is wild. Movies don't make more in their progressive weeks, not in a very long time. But anywho, I gave this 4.5 stars. I said circle and underline the performance of Navarrete in this film, as her manic on a dime flashes are absolutely captivating to witness. As for the movie proper, it is definitely this year's answer to the successive darlings of The Substance and Sinners. The movie works on so many levels and is shot masterfully. The lighting techniques through certain moments are used brilliantly and manages to be both scary and informative to the narrative. It's such a hard experience, but oddly relatable in certain aspects and cryptically funny in others. Yeah, Cody and I discussed this on the spoiler chat. 2 hours worth of us just BSing about how we felt, and that was like back when it was fresh in my head. I'm really excited to watch this again, and I think Emily and I might even do a pod on it. But it's one of those things where it's fascinating. As Sean said earlier, not that big a deal, but 4 out of 5. It's fascinating to see like the slow rumble online. I thought it was overhyped when I saw it, and it's actually kind of growing. And I don't know. When the substance was kind of making its way and kind of getting a slow build, word of mouth was really carrying that movie throughout 2024. I had seen it at some point. I think I was one of, I don't know if I was the first, but I was one of the first to see it in like my little circle here. Um, and it was interesting seeing like it slowly get discovered and people, well, this thing's a big deal. Um, Obsession is that like tenfold where it's catching on, and I don't know, some of the negative things that I've seen about it are absolutely fascinating. Um, I'm kind of over people not liking movies because of a character in a movie that is doing something you don't like. And that kind of frustrates me because, sure, of course, you don't have to like the actions of a character to consider the movie quality. Um, there is death in this movie, and it's not a welcome death. So of course there's some negative things that are happening in this movie. So yeah, I think it's to be expected that you're supposed to feel certain ways about certain characters. But some of the positions, some of the stances people have, like uh, it's fascinating. More often than not, I'm seeing 4 stars or higher. Um, but the random point 0.5 or 1 star ratings have been a treat to experience because I these people aren't meant to be judged. Yeah, you don't judge the movie based on the I don't know the morality of the character. The character is kind of fucked. He starts off innocent enough, but over the course of the movie, he has plenty of chances to do something and help someone and doesn't. Um, it's a wild experience. I would say anyone who's been in I, I, there are multiple situations where you could have experience in certain relationships and be, you could resemble or recognize one person's position. And there are other times in the movie, it's like, oh my God, I've been in this person's shoes. Like I experienced some sort of PTSD multiple times. Like I've been Bear in the beginning of the movie. I don't know. I'm really interested in someone and I don't know how to talk to them. And I'm nervous and stupid and just kicking my own words like I am right now. And then there are times where I've been out of control of my own self because you're getting jealous or possessive or whatever, and like there are so many different moments in this movie that uh, it's absolutely fascinating, and I don't know, judging the film based on a character is an interesting thing. It's like saying I hate Dexter because he does bad things. And it's like, yeah, I hate The Sopranos because Tony's a bad guy. Yeah, I hate Breaking Bad because Walter White is bad. Yeah, yeah. All right. So your second sentence is right, but you 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 realize that the show is aware of that, right? Um, 4 out of 5 for me. Biggest problem is while it does add new twists, it was never able to get 100% get away from its very basic familiar story. Basically, it could have been trimmed. I do like it a lot, though, because of all the deserved love this film has. I hate that this negative is always on my mind when I think of a really good film. Listen, they're notes. Um, I don't. I don't know if that's a bad thing at all. Like I'm the I'm the type of artistic creator that I'll never think of anything as perfect. And even if I were to get like a 98% on something, what's the 2%? How can I do better? I mean, obviously, they should take in all of the praise, and it's well deserved praise, but not flawless, sure. Um, but what movie is, to be fair, like if you go on IMDb, there is no movie that has a handful of averages or a handful of ratings. That there's no movie on IMDb that's rated 9 or above. So like I think the highest thing on IMDb is like an 8.7. So like that is the closest thing to perfect. 13 points below perfect. So, you know, you take the good and you consider the bad, you take them both, and there you have online criticism. Next. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Yeah, 1.5 stars from me. I finally saw The Bride. My short but sweet words are the most well-crafted, confident cringe I've witnessed in a rather long time. And yeah, I was kind of regretting on the flip side of the way I felt about Obsession. I was hearing nothing but unpositive things about The Bride. And this is another one of those like culture war things where I was like, don't I don't want to hear about whether or not it's woke or all that shit. But um, when there are moments where you kind of agree with like the culture war claims, it's like, man, don't what are you doing? Don't give them ammo. They have blanks and they shoot that ammo. Now when they have actual ammo, they're gonna fucking pounce. Um, but yeah, it's a bit heavy-handed. It's a bit full of itself, um, and kind of erratic. Like I don't know the Mary Shelley voiceover and I'm the fucking bride. Like it. I don't. It feels like it's got like I won't even say Tarantino. It's got like Tarantino fan film energy, where like someone who's watched and read a little too much of a Tarantino dialogue has decided, yeah, I can make badass scripts like that, and yeah, it's not great. It's a little long. It's a little plodding. Um, and I just don't care for the characters, which is kind of odd. Um, it's not really good. Listen, it looks fantastic. It's well crafted. Um, the dialogue is yikes at times. It's a lot. I'm not even gonna say it's a little wince-worthy. It's a lot wince-worthy. Um, but um, I don't know. You could. It's funny when you watch movies that you could tell that they're like trying to be awards bait, and then when you see them and they end up not being award bait, and like you just take away all that cynicism away, and you're like, oh, this is this is really kind of shallow. Oddly enough, it's trying to be deep, but it's actually really shallow, and that is The Bride. Looks great. It's well crafted. Again, they probably were gearing towards some award shit. Not for me, dog. It's a no from me. Next, Mortal Kombat 2, 3 stars from yours truly. What an absolutely bizarre experience for me. As far as representing the video games is concerned, this movie does a great job. It doesn't get caught up in trying to give you lore on why people can punch fire or whatever. And I think it works for this. The problem is the story isn't really that. While this is a great portrayal of the way you would expect the game to be on the big screen, maybe this IP isn't made for movies. Fans of the game should be pleased. People looking for some sort of story will be a bit underwhelmed. This movie knows what it is. The question is basically what movie you want this to be. Um, yeah, um, I you got to keep in mind that the source material is a fighting game where people fight to the death. It's very contradictory to like movie storytelling. Um, how do you set up story arcs for multiple characters when like based on the structure of this thing, when you lose, you die. Um, and that doesn't give people much room to wiggle. And if you do things that way, you're gonna need to get invested in a character that you kind of know is going to die, and they do something interesting around that. And I don't know, the Baraka character is in the game, and there's a thing that in the movie, excuse me, and there's something that happens where it's like, all right, you've kind of changed the rules, and like the stakes are gone, so it kind of reduces some of the feel for it. So I don't know. This is a thing that I don't know. Maybe it'd be better as a television series, and each episode is a character, and you give their little story every week, and they have the fight, and one of the characters loses and gets fatalitied, and it's more of like a tournament where you have one character that just keeps going on through, and each episode could be the competitor's backstory, and depending on who wins, their story is the backseat the next episode. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I just know that experiencing this as a movie in the way that the video games are, it just doesn't compute for me. Um, and it just doesn't fit under the structure of like storytelling and movies and things like that. I'm not saying it can't work. I tolerated. I was all right with the first Mortal Kombat in the '90s. I kind of enjoyed the one from 2 years ago, and I gave it 3 stars. It's one of those things where in my head I'm like, this doesn't work, but also I was like, the me that plays this game was kind of okay with it. So I don't know, what the fuck am I saying? If you have no attachment to the franchise, maybe it's not for you. Um, but if you do, go ahead. I guess it depends on how you feel about the 2022 movie. Like a lot of people hated that. I actually kind of liked it. Um, I don't know. Like I don't want this movie to be caught up on Sub-Zero fucking throws ice, and like here's the reason why he's got fucking midi chlorians in his hands, and like that's why, like, don't get involved in that. Just whatever. There's a fucking guy with a lizard head, whatever. Make a joke about it. Johnny Cage, the best person to do that. Sure. Don't get fucking all deep in the weeds about the lore and shit, because you don't have enough time to do it with all these different characters. But yeah, fine. I don't know if I rewatch it, and I think I will be rewatching it at some point inexplicably. I might get chillier or warmer on it, but we'll see. 3 stars. I enjoy the games. Ugh. Speaking of, what is this Netflix? I don't remember if this was Netflix or Amazon. It could even be Hulu. I don't know. Ladies First with Sacha Baron Cohen and shit. I forgot. Shit, I forgot. Oh no, this looks bad that I forgot who the actress is. Oh, it's Rosamund Pike. Yeah. So, yeah. Let me read the 1-star review for Ladies First. A better movie would have taken a moment to show us some of the struggles that are gender specific and not just laugh moments like construction workers catcalling, and make us, the audience, invested in their triumphs in overcoming these issues. But this movie presents an interesting subject, even if everything about it feels about 20 years too late in comedic style, and resorts to silly Burger Queen jokes first. This movie is both painfully plain and derivative. But more importantly, it has a perspective that that refuses to enlighten you on what it is. If it really wanted you to think about its subject matter, it would have went a bit harder with certain tropes. I mean, the guy who created and played Borat was here after all. Yeah, this is bad. So woman Rosamund Pike's character is a part of it's like a marketing firm, and Sacha Baron Cohen is one of the fucking CEOs or whatever, and she gets a promotion into like the top executives there, and she's not getting any of the gigs to work on some of these high profile clients. And Sacha Baron Cohen bonks his head on a street pole, and then he's suddenly transported to a world where the gender dynamics are upside down. And that's it. An excuse to have burger. Just think of anything that, a man or woman is a part of a thing. Any sort of trope or a cliche. I forgot there was 2 or 3 of them where I was like, ugh. Father fucker, I think, was one of them, where they just used cliches but just swapped it. It's like really shorthand, lowbrow, shitty humor. And the problem, I mean, I'm like nitpicking on something that I don't know if it would have had me otherwise. The problem with the movie is they tell you that Rosamund Pike's character deserves to have certain positions, certain opportunities, but they tell you. The movie doesn't show you any of her hard work or any of the reasons that she should have those opportunities. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, there's a moment where she talks to her kid and how she took time off, and I don't remember the exact conversation, but like if you're going to go into that, like she took time off, to take care of her kid, at least have the narrative then be that she sacrificed something for the company, and have the company, say thank you by giving her an opportunity. But it just says things. It just generically says things about gender dynamics, and I don't know. It doesn't go hard enough. Oddly enough, it's so strange that like if you it's essentially a Scrooge story. You're just doing fucking Scrooged. Have Sacha Baron Cohen's character be like really fucking shitty. Like the wild thing is in this alternate universe, he still works at the place. If you really want to like hammer home the differences, have him not have a job and show him how hard it is to I don't like if you're gonna play into tropes and stereotypes. I mean, they take the moment to do construction workers catcalling, and everything's flipped. So it's a bunch of women working construction, and they're whistling and talking to Sacha Baron Cohen. I would go harder at that. There is the joke, a reference to where if he puts out, he can get a promotion at the job, and that's kind of shitty. Like even that is sort of cynical because are you implying that Rosamund Pike's character had to put out to get to where she is because like that wasn't part of the rotation there. It just does things like it just plays into stereotypes. It doesn't earn anything. And it just, hey, I know you feel this way about the patriarchy, and we're going to do this movie based on what people feel, not based on anything we're showing you in this movie. And that's just not, it's not good enough. I mean, you can make me think that men are shit. Just do it in the movie. Show men being shit in the movie and me understanding through this lens, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Man, men suck. I hate being a man right now. But you can't just shorthand it and be like, oh, gotta sleep your way to the top. Okay, hi. Let's pretend I know nothing about anything and all my experience is this movie. What did you do to earn my criticism of that? Because you can't just shorthand and be like, up, got to sleep our way to the top. Okay, why though? Why did you have that in there? And what is it supposed to mean? I hate saying this because once again, I am the standard, the automatic, the white straight man. I realize my opinion is absolute dog shit worthless here, but you got to do better. You can't just say things and have an audience member who does not have a perspective one way or another, or a heavy perspective one way or another, just being like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And to say it's just a comedy's all right. What are you tackling such subject matter for? The time for that type of shit is over. It's just it's tacky at this point. It's tacky. It's outdated. And if you're gonna have Sacha Baron Cohen, have him be an absolute shitbag in this movie. What like he's done things like this before. What happened? Where'd the teeth go? Sacha Baron Cohen continues to pay for his expensive divorce. Oh, is he divorced? I did not know that. What a project to take on if you're going through a divorce. Yeah, so this is on a streamer. I don't know if it's Netflix or Amazon or Hulu. This is one of those things that this is a bad example of a reason to have a streaming service. Not very good at all. Man, I was snarky this month. Next is Lee Cronin's The Mummy, which I gave 1.5 stars. And all I said here was the good news is we'll never know who made this dreck. 9 people enjoyed that. The snarky shit worked on this occasion. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a mummy movie so much. And it's just not that good I've seen this more recently than I have other things on this list, and it just did not stick out to me at all. I certainly wouldn't, you know, put it up against something like the Brendan Fraser Mummy. Shit, I wouldn't even put it against something like Tom Cruise's The Mummy. Um, Call this something else because it's not really The Mummy. Uh, if you know, you know, but just not very good at all, not very memorable at all. Quite a chore to get through. Oh boy. Yeah, ups and downs. That's what this month has been. Next is A Love Like This, which I gave 2.5 stars. Feels a bit like Lifetime gave some cynic a copy of the Before trilogy and advised them to also avoid the typical schmaltz of other Lifetime fare. The movie feels like it is trying to portray an emotion, but can't seem to convince us, the audience, to share in that emotion. It certainly misses some of the emotional punch of the Before trilogy, but isn't weighed down by what I would consider the typical Lifetime movie junk. That could be because of the taboo nature of the relationship in the movie. It presents some major, whoa, slow down. It presents some major issues between the pair, but never really tackles a good enough, read deserved, resolution to any of it. You could do better and certainly could do worse. She did look spectacular in the red dress, though. That's a reference to a line in the movie where she's wearing a red dress, and he talks about she looked spectacular in it. And yeah, quite a fan of Emmanuel. Edit. I've been sitting with my thoughts on this movie and what to compare it to, and I'd suggest men, women, and children. One like. I think that only got one like because I don't know many people that are aware of this movie, let alone seen it. Um, is this a spoiler? So these two people are middle-aged, young middle-aged people who are meeting up for a getaway at a house for a weekend, and this guy is going to try to shoot his shot with this girl, but I fuck it. The spoilers. If you want to see this movie, um, okay. Spoilers. Turns out that they are both married. They are both married to other people, and they're having some sort of tryst. They're having an escape where this is their weekend away from their married partners, and in one instance, child. And over the course of this weekend, this guy is going to try to win this partner for good. And I won't go any further into it. If the idea intrigues you, it's not the worst thing in the world. It if anything, it kind of ironically kind of gives you blue balls. It has some interesting topics. It has some interesting thoughts and asks interesting questions. But paying those off is where the movie kind of like, nah, I'm not really bothered by any of that. I've seen, like, Emily and I watched the trailer, and the comments on the trailer were, I don't know, opinionated. People had very sharp feelings about a movie about people who are having an affair. Um, they read this as propaganda for people to leave their significant others. I don't think it's quite like that. I think it's quite immature to assume that people don't have wandering feelings and don't yearn for something that they um, aren't currently experiencing. Remorse, what if, things like that. And this movie kind of plays into that very, uh, you know, they're not perfect thoughts. They're I don't know if they're completely healthy, but they're human thoughts. I think it's interesting to present that. And again, men, women, and children covers this a bit more. But the other thing about men, women, and children is these characters know that they're not being great. And the thing about men, women, and children is they kind of tackle some of that stuff head on, and it's not pretty. This movie kind of bails on some of the heavier stuff, some of the subject matter that you would like to see resolution to, you would like to see um, resolution to it. I guess that's the best way to put it. Okay, you have certain feelings. Here's the conflict within you. Express them. You express yours, and what happens of this? It's a very hard decision. It's a very hard feeling to have. What do you do with it? And the movie just kind of feels a certain way, and if anything, it's a bit ambiguous with the ending. Spoilers, but yeah, I would I would say if you're single, probably a much easier watch. This is not a date night movie. This is not something you watch with your significant other. This is absolutely not something you watch with your wife or husband, and or your kids or parents. But again, to act like you don't have thoughts, like about the one that got away or things like that. When you're at your lowest, that you don't think, oh man, what happens if, what would have happened if I got with so and so? What if this? What if that? What if I were divorced? What if all of these things? They're natural feelings to have. Not acting on them is what makes us a bit more stronger than these characters. But they are natural feelings to have. It just again, not acting on them is where is the morality comes in. It asks interesting questions, but again, it is nothing compared to the Before trilogy, and on a much lower scale, Men, Women, and Children go through the nitty gritty a little bit deeper, and I don't know, it it's it sticks with me oddly enough because it has interesting questions, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. I quite literally used Obsession as a date movie, and it went very well. I saw other couples as well. I'm talking about A Love Like This. I'm not talking about Obsession. I guess, yeah, Obsession. I don't know. If anything, it's a yeah. If anything, it's uh as for A Love Like This, that cast is enough to keep me away. Yeah, no, it's no major stars. I have something of a soft spot for Emmanuel, but yeah, 2.5 stars. It will. The odd thing about it is it sticks with me more than Lee Cronin's The Mummy. It sticks with me more than um, other things that I have. It sticks with me more than Apex. What was the other one? Definitely Ladies First. Not Mortal Kombat 2. The Bride. It'll stick with me a bit more than that. It's not great, but the premise was enough to like kind of poked something. And next, oh boy, Buffet Infinity, which I gave 1.5 stars. I get that movies like this have an audience, but much in the case of something like Skinamarink, I'm just caught looking at my watch within 30 minutes. I get it, and sure, it evolves into its culmination, but considering the format, I would have just turned the TV off. Yeah, so this is a screen life movie where essentially you're watching a public access TV thing, and there's a bunch of commercials that play over the course of this channel, and they slowly reveal something going on in this world, and it builds towards something. Um, Comparing it to Skinny Marink isn't exactly fair, but it's more of that. It's not really a traditional narrative, but yeah, I some of these movies, it's just. I mean, I'm not saying that these types of movies won't work for me. For the most part, they haven't been. It's funny at times, but not something that I would go back to and say, "Oh, you need to see this." Um, that some of that stuff, they're like the Skinamarink is something that I get it. A lot of people quite enjoy it. I'm not that. And as much as this is like horror comedy, I was kind of bored, really, really relatively early in the movie. Jacob says, putting your name above the title of a film when you've done basically nothing is wild. Am I supposed to think Lee Cronin is John Carpenter? Dude, preach. I don't know if that was meant to like differentiate that it's not Tom Cruise's The Mummy, it's not Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, but the fact that like you put your name on it and then called it The Mummy. Also, it's a movie that you could have called it something else too. Um, yeah, that's an odd ego stroke there. I don't know why that happened. And it's one thing if if you're making the Titanic, but that was definitely a choice. Next, oh, an old one. Next is Postcards from the Edge, which I gave 3 stars. I'm wondering if this movie would have a bit more bite to it if it didn't focus so heavily on the humor and sarcasm throughout some of the tense/serious moments. But watching this in hindsight, realizing that Carrie Fisher ultimately succumbed to her addiction, perhaps has me smuggling in some real life to a movie that's over 30 years old. Yeah, for those who don't know, this is written by Carrie Fisher. It's basically a fictionalized version of her experiences with addiction, being an actress, and her relationship with her mother through all this. It's fine. I don't know. It's another movie that when it ends, it's just like, oh, okay. I don't feel bad. I don't feel good. I just ho hum about the way it ends. Interesting. I mean, Meryl Streep. I don't know. She could read the phone book, and it's probably worthwhile. But there's a lot of stuff where, like, I get it. It's based on Carrie Fisher, so a lot of her defense mechanism was to use sarcasm and was to use humor in some candid moments. I just would have liked to develop some of the reasoning behind that a bit more and have it build towards something. But again, I've watched this movie 30 years too late, and considering Carrie Fisher's not with us for nearly 10 years now, maybe I don't know, knowing what happens with her, that's unfortunate. But that's me, again, that's me smuggling in real world shit to something that was only 7 years after Return of the Jedi. And lastly but not leastly, for the month of May, Iron Lung, which I gave 1 star to. Listen, I think anything that gives Hollywood a reason to be concerned and feel the need to compete is a good thing. So the success of this is something I champion and am all about. As for the film itself, yikes. The story is far from established. The stakes are never really properly conveyed, nor understood by me. and the acting seemed to go over the ceiling and under the floor at what I would have expected in certain scenarios. In future projects, maybe the filmmakers can take some notes and work on getting some key moments portrayed to the audience to have us all invested in the story. This is a great looking low budget project, though. And yeah, considering it's something of a first timer, um, and the fact that he put all of his money into it, awesome. Um, have been big budget stuff that studios put money into that are far worse than this. But as far as the storytelling is concerned, as far as having a normie like me who does not know who Markiplier is, a normie like me who has not played Iron Lung, I need you to pretend like I am what I am and explain me some things and give me some visual representation of what you need me to know. Um, the fact that so first of all, Emily is a fan of Markiplier, so I risk being in the doghouse anytime I speak poorly of this artist. We ended up watching the playthrough that Markiplier did of this game, and it's less than an hour. It's weird that the game, the playthrough of the game, conveys way more information in less time, basically half the time. And I don't know. It's my understanding based on the comments I've had on something that isn't technically an Iron Lung review from me. People feel a certain way about the game, and they just wanted a ported version of that, and they wanted something true to what they experienced in the game. And if those people are happy, awesome. Enjoy that. As far as me, the person who has no idea about the game and would like to have some sort of experience with it, and as far as being a film going audience, it did not translate to me. There's lots of things where the scope of the situation, setting up some of the information, some of the scenes, just did not happen for me. Like, you never really get an understanding of the thing that the submarine, the thing that the guy is stuck in. How big is it? How deep down is it? Is there a way to get out? What happens if it cracks? I guess there is moments towards the end, towards the second half of the movie where it shows you what happens if it cracks. But if he's able to steer it, has he tried to steer it to the surface? Like, without me knowing, up, down, left, right, where it is, as far as like editing it is concerned, I have no understanding of what this thing is and where it is, and what is at stake. And as the movie slowly goes on, and slowly it goes on slowly, there are things that happen where you can't help but think, all right, so you have this like keyboard thing here where you can type in passwords. It took you this long to try to do something with that. That doesn't make sense if you feel trapped. And I get it. There's moments where this character is going through some bit of psychosis. But again, I'll say that apparently fans of the game think it's incredible. So if that's enough, then it doesn't really matter what I have to say. I just don't think this is a story that will translate to a game crowd, and it just doesn't play for a movie audience for me. What I Did I not? Oh no, I did. Um, this is only May, so I guess I'm giving you a little bit of a spoiler for June. What I kept thinking of after this, when Emily and I discussed it, I kept thinking of Ryan Reynolds in Buried. And what I did was I rewatched Buried within the last couple of days, and I in that movie I get some sense of perspective. The stakes feel a bit more true. Um, I might do a comparison of the two. It's not really exactly fair to compare those two. It's just a situation where two people are trapped and having to work against their current situation. Another problem with the setup of Iron Lung is the person who is steering the Markiplier's character is a convict, and I couldn't help but think, what is he convicted of? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Why is he there? Like, what is he guilty of? Can I know exactly what he did that put him in this situation? Because if he's guilty of killing someone, is this just punishment? Jacob says, speaking of 90s movies, I watched Swimming with Sharks recently. Not as complex or sharp as The Player, but definitely meaner. I'm not familiar. Swimming with Sharks. Wait, let me. I will try to load that. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, it is 90s. Look at that. Oh, Kevin Spacey. It's not okay to like him. In Hollywood, his dreams could come true, but first he has to make coffee. Guy, or perhaps Guy, if you're French. Guy's a young executive who's willing to do whatever it takes to make it in Hollywood. He began working for famed producer Buddy Ackerman, a domineering, manipulative, cold-hearted boss. When Guy also finds out that his cynical girlfriend Dawn has been using sex as a career move, he reaches his limit. Guy decides to exact revenge on Buddy by kidnapping him and subjecting him to cruel and unusual punishment. Huh. Benicio del Toro. Average score of 3.4. Can I? Yeah, I can watch this, can I? All right, Jacob. It is it is marked. It is documented, and I have that on my my list of things to watch at my earliest convenience that isn't, I don't know, preceded by something else. Okay, so that was May. Everything I saw for the first time in May. Ups, downs, sighs, eye rolls, and some interesting stuff between Obsession and Iron Lung. The discourse from those two films is fascinating, and if you watch my my theory video from 2 or 3 days ago, and I basically talk about popularity, how success is disguised as support, and I would encourage. I might do a live stream reacting to the chat, because the video is meant to present a multiple topics, quite a bit of nuance, a discussion of something that I've noticed, and I've tried to bait comments with the topic, And it's interesting because some people, I think they're just commenting on the title. And it's fascinating because I don't really make a declaration one way or another. And some of the comments have been interesting because I think it's a fascinating subject. And what I'll say is I feel a couple of people, their fandom kind of shows itself in a comment or two. And I'm not claiming that anyone is a fan of a particular content creator, but perhaps an IP, maybe both. And that kind of goes to my point. Fandom is interesting, and it's interesting how people are very loyal to something and have a harder time of either giving criticism or experiencing criticism without taking it personally, without taking it as a slight on their thing. And it's not really meant like that. I know this movie has been out for a while, but I recently watched Begonia. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, you could have my share of Begonia. I don't know. It seems like my experiences with that filmmaker are very hit or miss. And even when it's hit, it's just like, okay. Poor Things was interesting. I was intrigued, but yeah, a little late to the party on the May releases. We'll get to the June stuff. Outside of Project Hail Mary and Obsession, not of the movies people are trying to put out over here are good. Outside of Project Hail Mary and Obsession, not one of the movies people are trying to put over here have been any good. Um, yeah, I feel like the buzz, the reception has been encouraging, whether it's warranted or not. Like I felt like last year and 2 years ago, with the exception of whenever the hell Bob Barbenheimer happened. That was 3 years ago, wasn't it? It feels like there was more negative buzz than positive buzz, and it wasn't like, "Ooh, this is surprising." I don't know. I think I'm just going on like the overall mood of things, and for Backrooms and Obsession to have the hype it does. I'm not saying that these movies are 5 stars, but to have the conversation be like, yeah, these little guys that could, interesting. Can't wait for Evil Dead Burn. That Samara Weaving movie has been getting glowing reviews, but it's just a remake of The Trip designed to appeal to people who hate subtitles. Oh, Over Your Dead Body. I'm meant to watch that. That will probably be on the June first time watches. Yeah, she's also in Caroline, and I've been intrigued with that for ever since it was announced. I'm Kyle Gallner made something that I was like, ooh, you finally are in something that's kind of dog shit. I know he's been in other movies that have been kind of dog shit, but as far as what I've seen Kyle Gallner in recent past, he's been in a bunch of solid movies, but what the fuck was it last year? Backrooms is in that 3 out of 5 range, similar to the drama. I haven't seen it, but it's there's something further to the discussion that the Stuckman movie, there is way more hype, way more noise around the Stuckman movie to just talk about how much it wasn't good than anything. No one really saw it, but man, I couldn't tell you how many times I had to sift through, uh, I won't call it hit piece content, but man, a lot of people had something to say about Shelby Oaks. And, you know, for a movie that like premiered in 7th place and ended up making $2 million, a lot of the discourse on YouTube was about Shelby Oaks. That doesn't translate to the normie audience. That was a little puzzling. But yeah, fair enough. Kyle Gallner used to get ragged on pretty hard back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. It's interesting to see how much people love him right now. I always liked him. Yeah, didn't he have he had a tiny part in Red State, didn't he? He was the kid in the cage. Even in bad movies like the Nightmare remake. Yeah. I rooting for the guy, like the fact that he has tiny parts in Smile, like he's the cop in Smile, and he's in Smile 2 for a little bit. Like it's like, yeah, catch on with the bigger stuff. And fucking Strange Darling. Boy, I think it's been long enough I could actually talk about that movie and not worry about spoilers. Strange Darling. What the fuck? Dinner in America. Fucking hell. He was kind of the main character in Red State. Was he? Yeah, it's been so long. Yeah, maybe I'll rewatch that for the first time as far as my memory is concerned. He is the guy who gets locked in the cage thing, right? It's funny because John Goodman and the thing that makes Red State great is you never know who the main character is because they get killed off. Spoiler. Yeah, I would love to see the route that Kevin Smith's career takes based on doing more movies like that. And do not tell me Tusk is like that. And fucking yoga hosers and whatever the fuck sausage dog shit. Listen, 4:30 movie, fine. It's a fine piece of fluff. But I would love to live in the world where Kevin Smith makes 3 or 4 movies stemming from whatever Red State was for him. And again, I'm not accepting that Tusk is in that universe. Great idea that just gets fucking doofy. Like really doofy. All right. So let me know down below what you guys have seen for the first time in the month of May. It doesn't have to be anything new. I know for a fact that stuff I'll be talking about for the month of June, there's already a movie or two that isn't brand new. And we'll see. Better yet, are you a fan of Iron Lung? Are you a fan of Markiplier? Does the movie work or not for you? Are you a fan of Curry Barker? Are you a fan of Obsession? Does the movie work or not for you? Most important question. Does a movie suck if a character is bad in it? Answer in the comments section and give me love. Thank you.